And hello there, I'm Dr. Brenda, sociologist, financial coach, full-time RVer, traveling the country with my 3 cats. Hey, don't forget to subscribe below. If you already subscribed, thank you so much. Hit that bell to be notified of new videos. I am here with my friend Erica Rice, and Erica is a newbie to RVing. And for all of you women out there primarily who are RVing or thinking about it and you're on your own, this is going to be a really fun conversation because we're going to talk about Erica's what she's learned after months on the road and how this all evolved. So welcome, Erica. Thanks for joining me.
So great to be on your YouTube channel.
Yay! And if you're wondering where we're at Chic Plantation State Park in Surrey, Virginia. We're right along the James River. Ferry ride into Williamsburg, Virginia. It's a great little park. So how long have you been on the road?
It's been about 4.5 months.
4.5 months. So back us up to why you decided you were going to try the RV life.
Well, it actually kind of piqued my interest, I'd say in like 2016. So it's been a few years. Around that time, I was really interested in just alternative lifestyles in general, like tiny houses and things like that. But then I started my own business in 2018, and it just became sort of a goal to take my business on the road. So I figured, RV is something that could work for my cats and for me, and that's what I did. So it took a long time to build up the money and the finances to do that, but so excited to be doing it now.
And you did something like I did. I mean, I sold my house, and that freed up some cash, and I was able to launch this life. And you also sold your house. Right,
yeah. I actually needed a car really badly when I sold my house, and luckily I sold during the time that the market was up, and sold, got some money out of it and paid for a car, and then was able to put the down payment on the RV as well.
Okay, so tell us about what you drive and why you selected it.
So my RV is a 2019 Coachman Leprechaun, and it's a 24-foot, and I tow my car behind it. I selected the 24-foot. I actually was trying to copy Dr. Brenda and wanted to get like a 34-foot because everything I had seen, you needed to go 30, 33, 34 foot in order to get the couch and the dining area, because I wanted to have a place to chill out and a place to work. But it turned out that, well, RVs were kind of slim. Like, everybody was picking up RVs left and right during COVID and everything. So when I went to look at one, and then the more I thought about driving it, I was like, I'll go with the 24-foot. I saw one that, it looked new inside and everything, and I was like, yeah, I could definitely do this. So mine has the corner bed. It has the dinette that converts to a bed. It does not have the couch. So it was enough space for the cats. I think if it was just me, I probably would do van life, honestly, so I could just park in a regular size parking spot and go do whatever I want. But with the cats, you have to be plugged into electric and all that, so I went with the 24-foot.
So that's when I started looking for RVs. I did the same thing. Said, okay, 26 feet and under. That's it. I don't want to drive something really big. And ended up, mine is about 32 feet because I'm driving it once every 10 days or once every 2 weeks or once every 3 months in the winter. And so I have to have something I'm living in. For me, I find that it's big, whatever you're driving, especially if you're towing a car behind. So it's like, well, is 4 feet going to make much of a difference? And I don't think it does, but right. It is something I think a lot of women think about. Oh my God, I've got to drive this thing.
Yeah.
Tell us, I love your story.
Oh my gosh.
About your first drive.
Okay, so, well, first of all, I booked at Newport News Park my first 8 days of RV life. It rained my first 10 days of RV life. This was beginning of May in Virginia. So about halfway through that 8 days, I moved my cats in, and they were just starting to get comfortable 3 or 4 days in the RV. And then the next place we were going was Virginia Beach for a weekend kickball tournament. And so I had my boyfriend Dan driving behind me, and I figured, oh, Dr. Brenda lets her cats, roam the RV while we're driving, so I'll just do that. We don't need the carrier. I did have the carrier next to me in case, but so the cats were out, and we were going through the bridge tunnel. which means I had to stop at the weigh station, or, you know, the inspection station, and that was fine. So we were going through the tunnel, but it is raining like crazy. And about that time, like we're about to approach the tunnel, the cats start freaking out. Like Sally jumped up in the dash on the passenger side, and I'm like holding the steering wheel going, no, 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 stay over there, stay over there. And she's meowing like crazy. I think Jack ran underneath one of the seats. Sally jumps down and goes under my feet. And we get to the other side of the tunnel in Norfolk, and again, it's raining so hard, and I can't see the lines on the road at all. There's this just area near Tidewater, Norfolk, the lines are faint anyways, and the roads are like, it's always under construction. The roads are kind of or the lines are going back and forth. So I'm just riding in the middle of the lane, and Dan's behind me, making sure nobody's coming, you know, beside me, because I'm driving like a maniac. Going as slow as possible too. But anyways, I just was like, I gotta pull over. I'm freaking out about the cats and the rain and everything. Can't see a thing. So I pull over into what biggest parking lot I can find, and I am just a mess. You know, I'm like, Dan, like, is everything okay? Are you all right? And I'm like, I said, I don't know where Sally is. So Sally had crawled into this little alcove up under my feet, under the pedals. And I honestly didn't know at that time whether she could just get into the engine. My fear was that she had crawled into the engine and was dead on the road somewhere. So I've come to find out there's a firewall there, and it would be illegal if they did not have a firewall between the cab and the engine. But I didn't know that. I just thought she was dead. But anyway, Dan reached up there and he said, I could feel her. I'm going to have to grab her. She might scratch me. I'm like, I don't care if she scratches you, just grab her now. No, I did care if he got hurt. But oh my gosh, I was so glad she was there. And anyway, both of the cats went into their carrier for the rest of the time. And that was better for all of us. And they rode in their carrier their first, probably 5 or 6 drives. And then they understood that the house moves now, and they would find their little spots. So Sally likes to go up to the cab, or sorry, the loft over the cab. And Jack is usually underneath, like the passenger seat in the cab.
Well, and the weather too. I mean, for you to be, that's your initiation of this driving. I mean, I was tense reading your post. It's like, oh my God, what a way to start RV life. And at that point, are you thinking like, this is crazy, what have I just done?
Well, yes, and I'll tell you another funny story. The very first night, so I bought the RV on like May 4th. May 5th was my first night in it, and there was supposed to be tornadoes all over Virginia. So, you know, I had told my friend, I said, please let me know if you hear about an actual tornado in our area, because I don't know if I'll know what it sounds like. He said, oh, you'll be good. You'll know what it sounds like. Because it sounds like a train, is what he said. It'll sound like a train coming at you. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm at Newport News Park, and about 11:30, I think I went to bed fairly early, like 10, or I wake up at 11:30. There's a big storm going on outside, and I hear a train, and I'm like, and I call Dan, and I'm like, hey, is there a tornado in the area? He looks it up on his phone. Oh, they're having tornadoes in Chesapeake or whatever, but not here, not in Newport News. You're good. And I was like, okay, but I hear a train. I'm right there at Newport News Park, and there's an actual train, and it's going choo-choo. He said it's going to sound like a freight train, not a choo-choo train. So that's how panicked I was, just like new environment and whatever. I'm like, there's a train.
yeah, it is quite, and for those of you who have cats, they do settle down. They figure out when you're moving. They figure out when you get to your campsite. It's the weirdest thing, because I'll stop at a gas station, and my oldest Dolly is fine. Isabella's cool. Coco stays under the sofa. She knows if I'm at a gas station, she stays down. She knows if I'm at a rest stop, she stays down. Yeah. And I get to a campsite, she comes on out. It's like I'm backing in, and out she comes. So they figure it out. But the first month, they freaked me out. They were going all over jumping all over, climbing up on top of things to try to find their hiding place. Once they do, you're okay. So if you've got cats, don't freak out. I'm actually here with all 3 cats in my catio right now, so they can have a very happy life. So, what kind of RVer are you? I mean, what do you like? What don't you like in terms of where you're staying?
I will say that everything is very different than I pictured because all I cared about, I love the term digital nomad. I'm like, I have this business, I make websites, I can work from anywhere. I want to be a digital nomad. So all I was thinking, prior to this, because it's a very idealistic thing. Everybody's like, oh, I wish I could do that. I pictured stopping in coffee shops and working and, touring little towns and things like that. But because I have a it's not a big RV, but I still am driving a 24-foot RV with pulling behind. Like you're actually trying to get from point A to point B. You're not really stopping and touring and doing things like that. So like early on, I would get invites from friends. My friends were going to a campground that didn't have any RV spots to park, and it was the middle of summer. And I said, I can't go. I don't have a place for the cats, and a budget was like a big thing then too. And trying to find a campground near there was like $100 a night. And like, I just got this big loan, whatever. So it was funny because I'm the camper, but I can't go camping with my friends. And I couldn't just leave my RV with no AC for the cats, and I didn't want to leave. I wasn't sure if I could leave the generator. There's so much I didn't know at the beginning. So anyways, to answer your question more concisely, I think I pictured myself more like a van lifer rather than an RVer, but I wanted more space for the cats, so that was what I went with.
Yeah, it's I mean, there are all these trade-offs. Like right now, there's like a 2-year wait list for some of these like RV vans, the new ones, and the older ones, people are selling them for at such a huge price that it's like, okay, and it is. I mean, I bought my RV in December 2019, and so that was just before COVID and before all the prices went up. So
Right.
things are a lot more scarce now. What, right now you're thinking it would be great to sort of move. You're looking at just making it for 1 year. You want to do this for 1 year.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why 1 year?
I didn't have the 1 year so like ingrained in my mind when I first started. It was more, everything was so vague at the beginning. But then once I got to doing it, this is hard work. Like people think that, oh, I'm just out here having fun all the time. Like no, moving days are stressful. I've had some health scares with the cats while I've been on the road, things like that. So I think over time I'm finding I am a person who wants to have a home base. I'm also very close with my family, and I went to see them for 6 weeks, and it felt like 6 weeks was not long enough. Like I love my family. I love doing things with my friends too, but I definitely want to travel. So I could see me having some sort of like 50-50 lifestyle where I like travel during the winter months because I get like seasonal depression. So I could see me doing, RVing 6 months out of the year and then having another place that I go. So that's why I say a year, because I'm actually looking at buying some land near my family. And so I got to get back to, set up an RV pad on it and things like that. So a year is a good milestone.
Yeah, so all of this is a journey, figuring out what you like and what you don't like. So for me, my thing is the state and national parks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, they're not, I mean, the prices at a lot of state parks, even the Virginia state parks, have gone up a lot since 2020 when I first started, 2 years. And, but it's my thing. So you've done, the 1,000 trails.
Yeah.
So that helps you on the financial front. Is that
right? Yeah, I've only been to a couple of 1,000 trails. One was in Gloucester, and it's beautiful. They gave me the best spot, they said, and it was like on the water, had a nice view. The one in Williamsburg is very old and dated, and like just looks straight out of the 70s, and it feels like like a trailer park versus like where we are right now at one of the state parks. It's beautiful, and you have a spacious site. But yeah, 1,000 Trails, I decided to do that because I love their booking system. Like it makes it easy to just see what's on the map, where I can go and book there, and it's all included. I don't have to whip out my credit card every time I want to book something. And it only cost me about $140 a month because I financed it. Now I want to pay it off sooner. But for right now, while I'm paying on the RV, and then I, racked up some debt buying my car dolly and things like that, that I want to focus on. So that's one less hassle, is having to pay for campsites and just did the 1,000 Trails.
And that is sort of the trade-off. Like some people just stay at private resorts, high end, that has all the amenities. That's my thing, is the hiking. So I like to be get out my door and be able to hike. But financially, you got to figure that all in. And as a financial coach, that's part of your equation. So a lot of people like to boondock. You really have to pick your rig out carefully if you're going to boondock. Like, this would not be a very good boondocking rig. And both Erica and I work from our rigs. And why don't we talk about that for a bit? Because my challenges a lot of times are technology. Trying to get a decent cell signal so that I can set up my Wi-Fi, and then the flexibility. So I'm hanging out with a lot of friends. I'm not getting much work done this week,
Right.
and then there are other weeks where I am. So tell us about your approach to work on the road.
Right. Well, I definitely had a lot of internet issues early on. I got this thing called Travelfi, and I don't recommend it. I thought it was going to be wonderful. It was recommended to me at the place where I bought my RV, and it uses AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, all of the things. But come to find out, when I really researched it, it doesn't use all of the bands for all of those carriers. So I would have perfect AT&T signal on my phone. I'm like, why do I have internet on my phone, but my Travelfi is not getting internet? And I think it's the different bands. Like, our phone has the full wide range of bands. And so anyways, that was the first thing I tried. The second thing I tried was Starlink, and everybody was worshiping Starlink. They're like, get that, you'll be good. No, because a lot of times you stay at these state parks or really anywhere that has trees and you don't have a full view of the sky. It's almost like it needs to be just in a field somewhere. So that only worked for me at one place, and that was when I went down to Hatteras. I was practically parked on the beach, so I had a great view of the sky, and that worked out fine. Other than that, I've had to use campground Wi-Fi sometimes, or just like go to a coffee shop, and that was difficult because I didn't have my car the first few months, so it was like I'd be taking an Uber, and things were expensive. So but things so far, I mean, so what did I end up doing? I have Verizon now. I have a Verizon MiFi. There will come a time when I need to get an AT&T version of that, like a AT&T hotspot. Where we're at right now, I have great Verizon signal, and yeah. So.
And how about your schedule? Like, are you working regular hours every day? How do you get your work squeezed into all the fun and games?
I'm still kind of stuck in my old ways as far as my schedule. So it's like I usually I used to start work around 9. Now I'm starting work around 10 or 11, but I still work till about 4 or 5 p.m. in the evening, and then by that time I've been sitting in the RV or maybe sitting at my picnic table or something all day, and I'm ready to get up and move around, and that's when I would go for a hike or something in the evening, or go out and check out local restaurant or something like that.
Mm-hmm. The technology piece is, I have avoided some state national parks because there is no cell service at all, and I use both Cricket and Visible, which are the cheaper versions of AT&T and Verizon. So between the two, I'm usually covered, but sometimes I'm also at Starbucks. Mm-hmm. But that has been one of the bigger challenges, and I've built, I think, more flexibility into my work schedule than you have at this point.
Yeah.
So that's always a challenge for folks who are working on the road. Give me one word to describe these 4 months you've been out. One word. Word pops into your head?
The first word was overwhelming. There have definitely been overwhelming moments, but I wouldn't say the whole thing has been overwhelming. There's definitely good moments, like when you're going and seeing beautiful places. Like I've lived in Virginia my whole life, and then in this past 4 months I went and did things that I've never done before and seen places I've never seen before. Like, you really don't have to go far to see beautiful places. So one word, I don't know. I got 2 words. It's a soul journey.
Very good.
For sure.
Very good. It is initially overwhelming. My first campground, I went over the 30 amp limit, and I didn't know where my circuit box was. And I remember going to the campground host. I said, "You got a Winnebago? I got a Winnebago. Please help me. Where's my circuit box? And how do I reset this?" And say, "Okay, well, now I've learned what 30 amps means and what I can plug in and what I can't plug in." But it is a learning process. The first 3 months, I remember going to bed and just thinking, my God, what have I done?
Yeah.
What have I done? I sold the house. I left my home. I left my friends. I'm having, it's great, but it's like, it is yourself. And I
Yeah.
remember making a video. It was maybe in month 5, and I talked about finding your soul. It's like you're on the road, and there's something that happens on this journey, and you're still at. I think you got the overwhelmed part figured out now.
Yeah, it's starting to stabilize. Now it's just, moving that dolly. The car dolly is my the bane of my existence right now because I dread it. It's 500 pounds and you're lifting it and moving it, and it can take you down a hill, so that, and then not being able to back up, which you can't do when you're flat towing either. But that's the part that scares me. But I think, once I've done it a dozen times, it will be like second nature.
Well, I'm gonna admit something, because I always I set up my RV, and then I've got a friend who sometimes travels with me, and it's like, well, what is taking her so long? So Erica's site is not exactly level, and so I'm like, well, come on, let me help you. Let's see how we can level this. I have automatic levelers on my RV. I press a button and the jacks go up and down, and I'm set to go. 2 minutes, I'm good to go. And we spent an hour
probably
trying to level.
I had already done it once for an hour.
Trying to level it so that the blood's not rushing into her head when she's sleeping. So we ended up digging out the front tire, digging little holes so that the front tires could go down.
And then we had 4 or 5 inches of blocks stacked up under the back tire.
So for those of you who are leveling, especially manually leveling on your own, my heart goes out to you, because it's like, wow, I had no idea it was that challenging.
Moving day is so daunting. I mean, you could do more research, I guess, call ahead or ask about certain sites and make sure they're more level, or ask them where the best place is to unload your car and things like that. I just feel like I've been in survival mode for 4.5 months. I'm really looking forward to not feeling that way.
Well, I saw you post your journey, your plans. You've got some tentative plans. What excites you the most?
So last night I just booked a site in just outside of New Orleans for Mardi Gras. So I had an epiphany when I was talking to you the other day in the car. I had talked about my 1,000 Trails membership, and I was like, but I still want to do state parks and stuff too. And I said I could look at it almost like, staying at a state park or a private campground is like a vacation for me, whereas 1,000 Trails is my means to get there. So I was like, you know what? I had charted my path, and I did it on the RV Life app, or the planner, the trip planner that you use. And that was really cool. And I saw that I'd be near New Orleans in February, and if I just made a slight adjustment, I'd be there for Mardi Gras. So I'm like, hey, why not? That seems like it aligns. So I went ahead and booked that on hipcamp.com. Which is also another site that I like to use. So I'm excited about that, and maybe I'll go as far west as Texas, but what I'm doing is making a loop from Virginia back around, and I'll be back in Virginia in May of next year.
The planning, so it is, and I could almost do a workshop just on how to plan this, because I use RV Life, RV Trip Wizard. And what I have found over the years that helps me is to have some dates and times that are set, and then I work around them. So my brother's out in San Diego. I'm going to visit there. I've got an escapees thing. I think it's in March in Arizona, so I'm going to be there. So that actually helps, because otherwise you're looking at the universe of American RV spots. And it's like, oh my gosh, where am I going to go? I have all these possibilities. It's exciting, but it's like reaching into a bag of candy, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to dump out all the candy. I don't know which one to start with first.
Yeah, and then I've had people say, oh, come visit me while you're in North Carolina, and I see that they're 2 hours away. Well, if I just had the van or whatever, if I didn't have campsites booked, I'd just go out of my way and go see them. But I can tell my apprehension about moving the RV and all that stuff. I'm like, okay, I'll be 2 hours away from you. Let's plan a day of it. I'll just drive the 2 hours, hang out with you for a day. So I'm figuring out what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, and I want to kind of go back, because the difference between flat towing and dolly towing is huge, especially if you've got one person.
Right.
If there are two of you, maybe not such a big deal. So I also traded in my car, and I love Hondas, but my Honda did not flat tow, so I've got a Jeep Cherokee that does. And very, very easy for me to set up and do this. And so if you do any research in advance, and you do need to get a change in your car, what you're towing, because there's no way I'm a 32 footer, even yours, you can't just drive around in your, some people do, but you can't just usually drive around and park the baby. So
Yeah.
you got to have a vehicle. So think about that in advance. If you were to go back and let's say it's a year ago and you're still fantasizing about this, you haven't made your purchase and you haven't made your move, what would you do differently?
It's a tough decision because I'm really big on the word authenticity and doing what's authentic to you, and I kind of realized that, like, and I shed a few tears when I said it to my boyfriend. I was like, having the cats, honestly, right now in this phase of life is not authentic to me. And I tried to see, my sister's big in like with working with SPCAs, and like she fosters cats and things like that. I'm like, do you know anybody that could take my cats? And we didn't find anyone, but I would have done the van life. But if I didn't do the van life, the other thing would be go bigger. And, so it's like I almost chose the exact wrong RV for myself. Like, I could see myself going bigger. I could see even my boyfriend full-timing with me, and things like that. So I honestly, even though I'm dollying the car, I don't regret that, at least not yet, because I love my car so much. I just bought it in October, and I spent, 19,000-20,000 on it. And then the trade-in value was like 13,000. So I'd immediately lose a bunch of money and lose my car. This is the first car I've ever gotten. It's not brand new. It's a 2013, but it's the first car I've ever picked out myself. I've only had hand-me-downs before that. That's a Nissan Rogue, and it's red, and I really like it. So I'm not ready to get rid of it yet. So I was willing to deal with this dolly. But eventually, maybe after I go back to Virginia in May of next year and rethink some things and try all this over again, what I will do is probably trade my car in, or maybe somehow find a second car that's towable or something. Or even my boyfriend's Jeep is it would flat tow if we got the equipment for that. So,
and that's I think a rarity, because I actually love my RV. This is my first, and I think it's going to be my only RV. I'm totally thrilled with what I have, but most people, from what I understand, are, they select an RV and they decide it's too big, I hate the corner bed, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that. And so it's very common to be trading in for different RVs. So it's like your first RV, if you don't like it, just figure out what you need to do to raise the funds and to get something that you do like. But don't give up the RV life because you got the, don't have quite the right equipment.
Yeah.
So if somebody is out there is like, this looks really good, but the cat thing is intimidating, the driving is intimidating, hopefully we didn't scare you too much. I mean, it is a lot of research, and it is a lot of nerves. I mean, even every time I drive, my first year out, I had a lot of tire issues. And so I've got the tire pressure monitoring system, but it would go off, and I'm like, oh no, another flat tire. I've got that resolved this year. But the anxiety of moving, I said the first couple of months, it felt like there's a ratio of like 80% anxiety, 20% excitement. Now the ratio is 80% excitement, 20% anxiety. So the anxiety is always there, but for me it's more like a feeling of Christmas morning. Like all I got to do is get in that RV and drive for 5 hours or 6 hours, get set up, and I'm under the Christmas tree again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm probably at the 50-50 ratio right now.
50-50, that's okay. That's all right. So if somebody out here is thinking about doing this, what advice do you have?
Definitely do your research. Ask yourself those questions. What's authentic to you? And then even when you find what's authentic to you, sometimes you just have circumstances. Like I have 2 cats that I love very much, and I had to do what worked for them. But just assess the situation fully. Don't be in a rush to buy your RV, and just really think through that stuff and do your research.
Yeah, and one thing that helped me is when I bought the RV, I knew somebody else, and she camped, she RV'd, and so she sort of showed me around a little bit because I'm like, okay, can you show me dumping a gray and black tank? I've never done that, so it's like, okay, how do I do this? What do I do? And even for me, like the little things, like first I would make sure the cap was on really tight and everything was on tight, and I'd get to a new site and I couldn't unscrew the cap and I couldn't put the hose back on. So it's like, oh, it doesn't have to be that tight, it's got to be on and set.
Like there's a little locking thing. I don't always lock it all the way in.
Exactly. So those are just little things, but it helped for me to be able to have somebody there who could sort of just show me the ins and outs, and I could call and ask questions and say, hey, what do I do about this thing?
Yeah.
I mean,
YouTube has been a big resource.
Oh wow,
for
YouTube,
sure.
YouTube.
And then I think our beginning experiences are very different too, because I did have my boyfriend kind of trailing along on a lot of places. He was there for probably my first 4 or 5 setups and takedowns, because I've been in Virginia the whole time for this 4 months, and just kind of been between Hampton Roads and Central Virginia, where my family is. I've had people around to help, and then Dan following me to my destinations, just gave me some peace of mind. And he doesn't know anything about RVs either, but he has, he'll pull out YouTube, or he does the research or whatever. So he's been helping me a ton.
Yeah, and I did the opposite. I'm like, okay, bye, I'm gone. And off I went by myself. But that does bring up one last thing. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely, it's been a humbling experience. I have to ask for help a lot.
I mean, a lot of even in a campground, people generally are very helpful. So you got questions, ask for help. So, all right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. You have. Why don't you promote your? How do people find you if they want to work with you?
Yeah. So my business is Erica Rice Digital Consulting. My background is in website design and graphic design, so I have those kind of skills, but also I just love working with business owners to help them get organized with their processes, systems, if you're bringing on a new team member, things like that. So I'm going to be launching a new website soon that's all about systems and processes for coaches and healers. So if that's something you feel like you need in your business, is to get more organized, check out that website. It should be launched probably by next week, and it's ericarice.com. It's ERICARICE.com.
Excellent. And I'm going to have that link in the description. And hey, I always invite you guys to check out drbrendamoneycoach.com and Gutsy Women Finances community. All right, you guys, hope you take care. Thank you so much, Erica, for sharing your experiences and providing some levity and a real life to this whole RV experience. You guys
Absolutely.
Take care out there, and we'll see you from the next campground. Bye-bye.
Bye.